Hello everyone, meet the Lash, our beloved asshole. Lash is a mobility-focused hero that loves grappling high into the air before diving into his foes to stomp them down. He specializes in initiating fights, dealing massive amounts of spirit damage, and is great at ganking unsuspecting enemies and easily chases them down when they try to run away. His gun fires in 3 bullet bursts with above average bullet velocity and no recoil. This makes it easier for him to land shots while schmoving through the air, which he frequently does. Fun fact, even though the Lash fires in 3 bullet bursts, his starting ammo is 29, which is not divisible by 3, meaning his last burst only fires 2 bullets. With his first ability, Ground Strike, the Lash stomps the ground beneath him, damaging enemies in a cone in front of him that reaches out for 11 meters. When used on the ground, all enemies caught in the area take 70 spirit damage. If used while airborne, the Lash quickly dives towards the ground. This enables you to hit unsuspecting enemies easier, and it improves the damage you deal by 5.5 for every meter dropped. To compensate for extremely high drops, the damage grows slower after dropping more than 25 meters, improving only by 4.2 for every meter beyond that. When colliding with a flying enemy while doing an airborne ground strike, the Lash will drag them down to the ground with him. Once used, the ability goes on a 19-second cooldown. The stomp damage as well as the damage per meter scale with spirit power, improving the stomp by 0.8 and the damage per meter by 0.04 for every point of spirit. Once fully upgraded, the cooldown is reduced to 9 seconds. Struck enemies are knocked up into the air and have their movement speed slowed by 50% for 3 seconds, and the damage per meter is improved to 11.7 as well as improving the per meter spirit scaling to 0.07. Let us now have a look at his second ability, Grapple. With this ability, the Lash is able to grapple a target, pulling himself towards the targeted unit and up into the air. This ability enables him to get into and out of fights easily and sets up his ground strike while preying on his enemies from above. Grapple can latch onto enemy and allied heroes as well as troopers and objectives as long as they are in line of sight and within the 30-meter cast range. Neutral creatures can also be targeted as long as they are awake. Using Grapple also resets the limit of your air jumps and dashes. This enables you to stay in the air longer and gain more height and mobility. This could for example be used for jump dashing towards a wall and then wall jumping to extend your time in the air as well as your reach. When using Grapple, the Lash is jumping with a 20 meter per second velocity. Grapple can hold charges, but starts with just 1.
Ground pound!
The cooldown between charges is 2 seconds and it takes 42 seconds to regenerate 1 charge. With all upgrades, the cooldown is reduced to 23 seconds. The cast range is increased to 50 meters as well as granting a +6 weapon damage buff for 10 seconds, and it also provides a 20% fire rate bonus for the same duration. The buff is indicated by blue lightning around his firearm, literally. Moving on to Lash's third ability, Flog. When cast, the Lash strikes enemies in a cone in front of him with his whip. All whipped enemies take 60 spirit damage, while healing the Lash for 50% of the damage dealt when hitting enemy heroes, and 16% of the damage dealt when hitting non-heroes. Flog has a cast range of 20 meters, and the cone has an angle of 30 degrees. Once cast, the ability goes on a 26-second cooldown. The damage, as well as the attack angle of the cone, scale with spirit power, improving the damage by 1.1, and the angle by 0.43 degrees for every point of spirit. After unlocking all upgrades, hit enemies have their movement speed reduced by 35% for 3 seconds, the cooldown is reduced to 12 seconds, and the damage is improved to 155 as well as reducing the fire rate of hit targets by 35% for the same duration. And finally, let's explore his ultimate ability, Death Slam. When cast, the Lash stops moving and starts focusing on heroes in his vision cone for up to 20 meters away. After focusing on his foes for 0.7 seconds, the Lash connects whips to them. After channeling for 2.3 seconds, or if prematurely cast by pressing left mouse button, all connected enemy heroes are pulled towards you and stunned before the Lash slams them into the ground at the location he targeted. There is a 0.3 second period where you can target an area, and the maximum throw distance is 12 meters. Your victims and any enemies caught in the landing zone take 105 spirit damage and have their movement speed reduced by 50% for 4 seconds. Enemies that are not in line of sight anymore or go out of range during the latch time will not be grabbed. You are still able to grab people you are not currently looking at though. Even though Death Slam can be performed on the ground, it is highly advised to use it up in the air since a lot of objects can block the latch even when still seeing your enemies. When cast in the air, the Lash hovers in place, and being airborne makes it way easier to lock onto multiple enemies at once. Be aware that after high-speed movement like ziplining, the Lash won't stop instantly, so you'll need to account for his momentum as he slows down, as to not mess up your ultimate's aim. The hitbox of Death Slam is a cylinder below you with a 20-meter radius, meaning you cannot be out of range from being too high up into the air. As soon as your enemies are pulled, the ability goes on a 155-second cooldown. The damage, as well as the maximum throw distance, scale with Spirit Power, improving the damage by 1 and the distance by 0.3 for every point of Spirit. When fully upgraded, the maximum throw distance is improved to 20 meters, the cooldown is reduced to 130 seconds, and it stuns all enemies caught in the landing zone for 1 second. If you'd like to dive deeper, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss our in-depth Lash guide when it drops, as well as our next hero showcase. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a Ko-fi or become a YouTube member. It really helps us in our efforts to make these videos for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.